Hi there, I'm Nathan Agan. Welcome back to the Working Actors Journey Rehearsal Room. We have been working this month on a couple scenes from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, the Olivia Viola scenes. It's been a great, kind of a fast process through these two scenes, but I think we've uncovered a lot of great material, a lot of interesting ideas, great discussion, and some different ways of approaching the material. We'll even kind of look at a different way of exploring it, and another exercise today. Sounds like so. I'm excited to see what that entails. If you have questions and comments, or you're watching this later, feel free to drop them below. If you enjoy, hit like, hit subscribe. I just want to mention a couple things. While this session may be the final session of this workshop, what you're going to see is not meant to be a final performance. Rather, it's a continued work in progress. This is just the next step of the work. Certainly, if these actors in this group got the play up on its feet, it would probably continue to change. One would think that a lot of this preliminary work would inform the blocking, and might even speed up that process, but things are always in process. So we will continue posting these weekly sessions on YouTube and our podcast for free for everybody to enjoy. So be sure to subscribe and click for notifications so you're the first to know when we release new content. We're trying to do that every week, just about every week. Please consider supporting the project to keep this space creative, accessible, and high quality. Links are below if you're watching this later. Ways to donate a one-time donation gift. Thank you quickly to Charles, Terry, Rebecca, Sandy, Lori, and Doug for recent donations. Or you can get behind-the-scenes access and other perks, including ad-free versions of the rehearsal room through a monthly contribution through Patreon, starting just $5 a month. A few people over there supporting us are Ivar, Joan, Michelle, Jim, Magdalene, Claudia, Cliff, and Jeff. If you have any questions, again, please comment below. We'd love to hear what you think about the scene, your ideas on these characters, or ways to approach the material. So again, it's an ongoing live discussion. So that's it. I am gonna jump back and head to the recesses of the theater. I'll let these guys do their work, and I'll be back in a bit for the Q&A and talk about the experience of everybody. So have a great session.
Thanks,
Thank
Nathan.
you. Hi, folks. Welcome back to our online rehearsal room in the ether. Nice to have you guys back. I actually would love to kind of jump into this first exercise that I'd like to experiment with. I have to just say up front that I've never really done this on Zoom or over a camera, always in person. And I'm going to describe the exercise, and then we're going to try it in this format to see if there's any value in it. And it's an experiment, as most of our rehearsals are in actual practice. So this exercise is called dropping in. It was created by Tina Packer, Kristen Linklater, and perhaps any number of other early members of Shakespeare and Company. And the exercise was created as Kristen, I think in particular, was looking at how to approach Shakespeare. Was created as a way to allow the words to resonate on a deeper level, emotionally and physically and psychologically, I would even say. And and to be fair, the exercise really comes out of all the stuff they were doing in the late 70s and early 80s, and the therapies they were doing, and all that kind of that era. And the exercise of dropping in often comes at the beginning of the rehearsal process before the actors are familiar with the text. So they don't have any preconceived notions of the words or what they're even saying. But the exercise can be done at different points in the rehearsal process, either in whole or just a chunk of the scene. And all of us who do this exercise have our own slight version of it. I'll describe the exercise, how it's traditionally done, so you're aware of it, and the folks out there are aware of it, and then we're going to try it here. What I would do is I would bring you into, we would be in our rehearsal room, and I would place you across from each other in chairs, sitting towards the edge of your chair. So you may actually want to do that in this process because it allows your body to still be active and not kind of sat back in your chair, relaxed and comfortable, and not as present, I think, as if you're sitting forward at the edge of your chair. I then ask the two actors to come together so their knees are like this, right? Rather than one person dominating the other person by doing this, right? And this is actually comes because I have done this so many times. Before I even say anything, I usually say, okay, if you guys can come together with your legs crisscrossed or as close to each other as possible. This usually happens, and it's often the male identifying person who is this person, right? So we kind of take away that kind of power structure by doing this. That's the second part of the aspect. And then I ask you to close your eyes, and I take you through a very quick and brief kind of checking in process. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to describe the process for you. You're going to have your eyes closed, and we'll see if it works in this format. I'm going to take words from your text, and I'm going to say the words. So, for example, Shelby, if you don't mind being my guinea pig, you can leave your eyes open for now. I'm going to do the line to be or not to be. That is the question. So it's something not from Twelfth Night. So you would have your eyes closed, and I would say be, and you would say repeat the word back to me.
Be.
And then I would ask you a series of questions in succession. And your job after each one is I will say the question or the prompt. I will repeat the word, and then you will repeat the word back. Your job is not to intentionally try to put a different spin on it, to make it mean something different vocally, or your job is to repeat the word and allow the resonance of that word on whatever level to just then come through as you speak the word. Again, I want to really emphasize that there is no intent that you have to say the word differently every time, right?
Yeah.
It may, in fact, come out differently because something may start to shift in you, or a word has a particular resonance for you, or the prompt that I give you may trigger something, and so the word may, in fact, be repeated differently, but you're not obligated to do that. My temp.
Are the two actors doing that at the same time?
No, just one actor, and then I'll do your chunk of text, however many lines you have, and then I'll jump over to the other actor.
Great.
I'm sorry, and I incorrectly say you'll have your eyes open by this time.
Okay.
Right, so you can see each other, unless one person is entering the room, and then I'll have you open your eyes when you enter the room. So the other person who's listening is also hearing the prompts and may in fact have emotional or physical or intellectual responses to the prompts and the words, and maybe having in fact their own experience to what I'm doing and to what their partner is doing, right? So it's a whole slew of things that are happening at once. Let's try it, and I'll stop talking, and I'll just try it with you right now, Shelby. So you've opened your eyes, and you can let your lips go. So your lips are slightly parted, so you're breathing in through your mouth. B.
B.
Is that a letter of the alphabet? B.
No.
So you say the word B.
B.
Yeah, you're not answering the question, you're just repeating the word. Okay. Is that a letter of the alphabet? B.
B.
Is that an active action? B.
B.
Is that an insect? B.
B.
Great. So there starts to be a rhythm. And again, I encourage you to say the word and not to think about the response.
Okay.
Right? Just be in that rhythm with me, because it starts to take you out of your own head, ideally, and you're just
Mm.
really responding in the moment. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. We'll go a little bit more. Bee.
B,
Is that an insect? Bee.
B,
Have you ever been stung? Bee.
B,
Is that to exist? Bee.
B,
Is that to live? Bee.
B,
Or.
B,
Or.
or,
Is that a switch? Or.
or,
Do you have a new thought? Or.
or,
Is that a little word? Or.
or,
Do you have something new to say? Or.
or,
Are you unsure? Or.
or,
Not.
not,
Is that something you tie? Not.
not,
Is that what you make with a rope? Not.
not,
Is that a no? Not.
not,
Are you certain? Not.
not,
Is that a capital N? Not.
not,
That.
that,
Is that a weird word? That.
that,
Is that a monosyllabic word? That.
that,
Where does that live in your mouth? That.
that,
Is there a hard T on that? That.
that,
Question.
question,
Do you question things? Question.
question,
Are you a curious person? Question.
question,
What's on your mind right now? Question.
question,
What is Shelby? Question. Question.
question,
Is Hamlet questioning his existence? Question.
question,
Is that a longer word than everything else? Question.
question,
Is that how many syllables does that have? Question.
question.
All right. And we'll hold there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask you really, briefly, what was that experience like for you?
I appreciated the permission to not have to make it anything. And I found myself still being slightly outside and hearing differences, but not having tried to make them different. But as soon as I would say something and be like, oh, that was a little different, we were already on to the next thing.
Mhm.
So I see how the more I did it, the less I even analyzed each one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found myself enjoying the words a lot, especially when I got a longer one. Question. Yeah. It was like, oh, because you repeat it so many times, it was a delight and a relief in some ways to have new sounds.
Yeah. Anything else? Was there any word? I mean, we did such a short version, so I only gave you like 3 words, I think. But did anything like pop for you even in those 3 words? Is something kind of like, oh, that was interesting, or
Yeah, that. A word that we say constantly, and I just never kind of hung out with it. And
Right.
it was yeah, kind of it was fun. It was fun to all of those smaller words. We rush to the meat usually. Or at least I do in my text work. I just assume that doesn't these things don't matter. And so let's get to the big juicy at the end of the verse line. But it was nice to sit in each word. Mhm.
There's something interesting you said that I want to reflect back to you, that you said something about question being the longest word, and that kind of prompted that also in my dropping in. It is interesting to note that that is the longest word. So, in that opening line, to be or not to be, that is the question. And there's something really interesting about that that might be useful to you as an actor in
Yeah.
playing that or not, right? I don't know, but there's something interesting about it for me. Anything, and as you were listening, and anything that stood out for you?
There's a playfulness to it that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're gonna try with our text. I'll tell you where we're gonna take it from, so that we can do it here in this format. I'll say a few things before we get going, and then we can check in at afterwards. This exercise can be as short as a few minutes and as long as 30, 40 minutes or more. And having been in that chair many, many times, there are rehearsals or days where I think none of it like had an impact. And then a day later, 2 days later, it's like something is in my body that gets activated because of something that happened in that rehearsal. It is sometimes tedious to be in that chair for that long, right? So we encourage folks to drop down their spine or shake it out throughout, but to stay with their partner as much as possible. We, as the droppers, usually there are 2 dropper inners, one with each person, and we are turned away from the other person. So we're not the focus, we're just kind of in the ear of the person we're dropping in. So they're here and we're here. So we're trying to be as out of the way as possible. So it's just about those 2 people, right? And usually our dropping in, again, everyone has a different style. Usually our dropping in is a little bit softer. So it's really just about this person here. Sometimes we'll make physical adjustments to the person we're dropping in because we see they're tensing up. We'll remind them to bring their spine up or whatever the case might be. So let's just try it, shall we?
Yeah.
We're going to take it from in Act 3, Scene 1. And we're going to start with Olivia's line, "Give me your hand, sir." Yeah? Everybody know where we are?
Yeah, and we don't have to look at the script at this point, right? Because
No.
you're gonna be, okay.
I'm going to give
We're
you
gonna
all.
feed it.
I'm going to feed it to you, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, you guys know the script, so I'm going to be more intentional about also switching it up in terms of what I'm dropping in. You may notice something, so let's see what happens.
Now,
So
let me get this again.
yes,
It is Shelby and I who are facing one another.
That's
and you're
correct.
somewhere else feeding us this stuff.
yes. So
So whoever is receiving the words closes their eyes, and the other person can keep their eyes open or not.
no, I'm going to start you off both with your eyes closed.
Okay.
I set up the space and the
Okay.
right,
Okay.
and then I'll have you guys open your eyes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I am next to the person being dropped in. I'm just turned away from the other person. Right. Got it. Okay. All right. So let your eyes come to a close. And I'm going to stay on camera for this one since I am present. Actually, I will remove myself afterwards. Let your eyes come to a close. If you can, allow your lips to be slightly parted so the breath is coming in through your slightly open mouth, parted lips. And if you can, allow your spine to be long and elegant. And just be aware of the space around you, the noise outside, your dog, your cat. Acknowledge whatever twitches you might have, whatever scratches you need to have. We're not trying to ignore any of that, just let them be present. And in a moment when I ask you to open your eyes, you're going to see across from each other, in this case, at the screen, you'll see Shelby and Anne. You'll see Olivia, Viola. And they are one and the same. So go ahead and open your eyes. We'll start with Olivia. Give.
Give,
Is that to ask for? Give.
give,
Is that a command? Give.
give,
Are you ordering her? Give.
give,
Is that to offer something? Give.
give,
Are you a gift giver? Give.
give,
Is Shelby like receiving gifts? Give.
give,
Me.
give,
Me.
me,
Is that you? Me.
me,
Is that with one little E? Me.
me,
Does that have 2 or 3 E's? Me.
me,
Who are you? Me.
me,
What are you proud of? Me.
me,
How old are you? Me.
me,
Hand.
hand,
Are you engaged? Hand.
hand,
Do you have a ring on your finger? Hand.
hand,
How many fingers do you have? Hand.
hand,
Do you have lovely hands? Hand.
hand,
Does Viola have a sweet hand? Hand.
hand,
Do you want to hold her hand? Hand.
hand,
Do you like holding hands with your partner? Hand.
hand,
Sir.
sir,
Is that a formality, sir?
sir,
Different than madam, sir?
sir,
Do we say that word anymore, sir?
sir,
Is there a nice little S on that, sir?
sir,
Are you cutting her off, sir?
sir,
Are you cutting him off, sir?
sir,
Does he look like a boy, sir?
sir,
Viola. Duty.
Duty,
Is that your obligation? Duty.
duty,
Is that something you have to do? Duty.
duty,
Were you sent here? Duty.
duty,
Is that like a tariff you pay? Duty.
duty,
Do you have obligations at home? Duty.
duty,
Madam.
duty. Oh, madam,
Did he call you sir? Madam.
madam,
Is that a formality? Madam.
madam,
Are you a miss or a madam? Madam.
madam,
Is she a miss or a madam? Madam.
madam,
Humble.
humble,
Is that like eating humble pie? Humble.
humble,
Is that to be to not be arrogant? Humble.
humble,
Are you poor? Humble.
humble,
Do you make a living at what you do? Humble.
humble,
Service.
service,
You serve somebody? Service.
service,
Who you love? Service.
service,
Would you be in his service all this time? Service.
service,
Do you like doing nice things for people? Service.
service,
Olivia. What?
what,
Is that a question? What?
what,
Is that a demand? What?
what,
Is that the second question you have? What?
what,
You curious? What?
what,
How long have you been thinking of him? What?
what,
Name.
name,
Do you know his name? Name.
name,
Do you think his name is sexy? Name.
name,
And you wait to hear it? Name.
name,
Is that to identify something? Name.
name,
What is your name? Name.
name,
What is your name going to be after you get married? Name.
name,
You're going to keep your maiden name? Name.
name,
Are you going to take on your partner's name? Name.
name,
What is your last name? Name.
name,
Viola. Cesario.
Cesario,
Is that your name? Cesario.
Cesario,
Are you sure about that? Cesario.
Cesario,
Is that the name you've put on? Cesario.
Cesario,
That has special meaning to you? Cesario.
Cesario,
You pull it out your butt? Cesario.
Cesario,
Servant.
servant,
Did you already say that word? Servant.
servant,
Or is this the first time? Servant.
servant,
Is that what you are? Servant.
servant,
Are you high status? Servant.
servant,
Is it below you? Servant.
servant,
Name.
name,
Is Cesario your name's name?
name,
Is Viola your name? Name.
name,
Is your name Anne? Name.
name,
How many names do you have? Name.
name,
Do you enjoy having so many names? Name.
name,
Do people fuck up your name? Name.
name,
Fair.
fair,
Is that to be equal? Fair.
fair,
Is that to be white skinned? Fair.
fair,
Is that to be beautiful? Fair.
fair,
Is that what you think of her? Fair.
fair,
She's pretty good looking? Fair.
fair,
You shall be easy on the eyes? Fair.
fair,
Princess.
princess,
Is she a princess? Princess.
princess,
Would you like her to be a princess? Princess.
princess,
Highfalutin princess.
princess,
Did she get her toes and nails done? Princess.
princess,
Are you being facetious with her? Princess.
princess,
Does that P pop on your lips? Princess.
princess,
Olivia. Servant.
servant,
Did she say that? Servant.
servant,
Are you playing with her? Servant.
servant,
Is this like a S&M thing? Servant.
servant,
My servant.
my servant,
Do you want her to be your servant? My servant.
my servant,
Is that a come on? My servant.
my servant,
Are you looking right into her eyes? My servant.
my servant,
Mary.
Mary,
Is that to be happy? Merry.
merry,
Does that come before Christmas? Merry.
merry,
Are you merry? Merry.
merry,
Is that a word used at the Ren Fair? Merry.
merry,
Is she happy? Merry.
merry,
Are you happy? Merry.
merry,
World.
world,
Is that where you live? World.
world,
Are you a citizen of the world? World.
world,
Are you in her world? World.
world,
Do you want to be part of his world? World.
world,
How does that word sound on your mouth? World.
world,
What's your favorite part of it? World.
world,
Lowly.
lowly,
Is that to be down on the ground? Lowly.
lowly,
Is that to be cheap? Lowly.
lowly,
That uncharacteristic? Lowly.
lowly,
Do you have any idea what that word means? Lowly.
lowly,
Feigning.
feigning,
Is that to be coy? Feigning.
feigning,
Is that to lie? Feigning.
feigning,
Do you feign a lot?
feigning,
Is Cesario feigning right now?
feigning,
Is he pretending? Feigning.
feigning,
Is he being modest? Feigning.
feigning,
How's Anne looking at you right now? Feigning.
feigning,
Do you have a feigning look? Feigning.
feigning,
Compliment.
compliment,
Is that a good thing? Compliment.
compliment,
You like to receive them? Compliment.
compliment,
Is there a nice hard C on it? Compliment.
compliment,
Do you give them a lot? Compliment.
compliment,
Are you saying how good looking that he is? Compliment.
compliment,
Servant.
servant,
Is that the second time you said that? Servant.
servant,
You keep insisting on this. Servant.
servant,
Do you want to be served? Servant.
servant,
You want to help him? Servant.
servant,
Orsino.
Orsino,
Who is that? Orsino.
Orsino,
Is that the wooer? Orsino.
Orsino,
Is he the guy that likes you? Orsino.
Orsino,
How many times have you said his name already? Orsino. How many
Orsino,
times have you turned him down? Orsino.
Orsino,
Have you turned any guys down lately? Orsino.
Orsino,
How many of them? Orsino.
Orsino,
Count Orsino.
Count Orsino,
So he's high status. Count Orsino.
Count Orsino,
Care how much money he has? Count Orsino.
Count Orsino,
Youth.
youth,
Is he young? Youth.
youth,
He look like a boy? Youth.
youth,
Does Anne have a mustache? Youth.
youth,
Do you wish she did? Youth.
youth,
Do you like mustaches? Youth.
youth,
Do you scratch your face? Youth.
youth,
Do they tickle your cheeks? Youth.
youth,
Viola. He.
She,
He. 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 He.
he,
Are you talking about Orsino? He.
he,
You talking about that guy you love? He. Did
he,
he send you here? He.
he,
Are you trying to change the subject? He.
he,
Yours.
yours,
Pronouns in this scene. Yours.
yours,
What is he to her? Yours.
yours,
What is he to you? Yours.
yours,
What are you to her? Yours.
yours,
Belongs to you? Yours.
yours,
What do you want? Yours.
yours,
Needs.
needs,
What does that word mean? Needs. That
needs,
desire? Needs. That
needs,
duties? Needs.
needs,
Does that sound like the knees on your legs? Needs.
needs,
Servant.
servant,
Oh, there's that word again. Servant.
servant,
A lot of people serving each other. Servant.
servant,
Why did you say this word? Servant.
servant,
You like this word? Servant.
servant,
Are you saying it back to her? Servant.
servant,
Have you ever been a servant? Servant.
yeah, servant,
Have you ever worked a restaurant? Servant.
yeah, servant,
Have you ever worked in retail? Servant.
servant,
Ever been treated like a servant? Servant.
yeah, servant,
Are you a servant now? Servant.
servant,
Olivia. I.
I,
Who are you? I.
I,
Are you Shelby? Hi.
I,
Are you Olivia? I.
I,
Are you high status? I.
I,
Do you like him? I.
I,
Do you see with your eyes? I.
I,
What color are his eyes? I.
I,
Color are Anne's eyes? I.
I,
Is that to say yes? I.
I,
Is that what captains say? Aye.
Aye.
Blanks.
Blanks.
Is that like empty spots? Blanks.
Blanks.
Is that what like fake bullets are? Blanks.
Blanks.
Is he a blank? Blanks.
Blanks.
Not figure him out? Blanks.
Blanks.
Do you wish Orsino had blanks? Blanks.
Blanks.
Viola. Madam. Is
Madam,
that a formality? Madam.
madam,
Is this the second time you call her madam? Madam.
madam,
Establish what the situation is, madam.
madam,
Like the point, madam.
madam,
Insistent, madam.
madam,
I come.
I come.
What are you here for? I come.
I come.
Are you making a statement? I come.
I come.
Are you gonna set her straight? I come.
I come.
Wet. Wet.
Wet.
Is that to be damp? Wet.
Wet.
Is that moisture? Wet.
Wet.
Is that when there's water involved? Wet.
Wet.
I come to wet.
I come. Oh, wet.
I come to wet. The whole thing.
The whole. Oh,
Yeah.
I come to wet.
What are you gonna do? I come to wet.
I come to wet.
Are you gonna excite? Are you setting her up? I come to wet.
I come to wet.
Are you gonna tell her what you're gonna do? I come to wet.
I come to wet.
How's she responding right now? I come to wet.
I come to wet.
Is she gonna take it the wrong way? I come to wet.
I come to wet.
Your gentle thoughts.
Your gentle thoughts.
Does she have gentle thoughts? Your gentle thoughts.
Your gentle thoughts.
You want her to be kindly to Orsino? Your gentle thoughts.
Your gentle thoughts.
You want her to be nice to him? Your gentle thoughts.
Your gentle thoughts.
Good. And let's hold there. Good. Let's stop there. Great. So we did a very small section there. Yeah. Anything interesting or questions you have or things that stood out for you? And if you notice, I started to also start to take it into 2-word pieces, and then this can eventually become entire phrases or sentences.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see what effect this has.
Yeah. I will. Yeah, go ahead, Anne.
But in the real world, I would that there were time for this kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and there never is. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting.
No, I think that is the yeah, most of our rehearsal processes are now 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? If
Yeah.
3 weeks, you can't even scratch.
No. But I have had the luxury of having in the rehearsal process 6, 7, 8 weeks where we dropped in the entire word of the play, and it took several weeks of just dropping in, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
But ultimately really paid off, I think, in terms of how the language resonated for each of us in the show.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of patience for me.
Yeah, I
Or would.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because this is what's really important more than anything about the exercise. One of the important things that I want to say is that we're not trying to eliminate our own personal feelings, whether they have to do with the words or the scene or how we're feeling in the moment. You know, I've been in this chair for 90 minutes. I want to get up, right? And that starts to come through, actually.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if you really allow yourself to just be present with where you are in that moment, the words are just secondary. And you start to just tap it into your own frustration or anger or delirium or joy, right? Sometimes the words that can, when we really get into it, the words that, or phrases that plug somebody in emotionally, whether it be tears or laughter, sometimes it's just the opposite. We imagine it's going to be tears and it actually becomes laughter. Or one person is in deep emotional turmoil, and the
Yeah.
other person who's listening suddenly bursts into, laughter.
Mhm.
What we have to deal with, and it becomes really interesting in terms of how we're hearing these words and how we're responding to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by the effect of the questions going from character to personal questions,
Mhm.
and how that surprised me at first, but then felt like a really lovely union of then how is Olivia, how are we similar?
Mhm.
It helped with that fusion for me.
Yeah, and I obviously, I know you, Shelby,
Mhm.
but I really try to not. Usually, I don't know the people, or
Yeah.
oftentimes I don't. We're in a time now where we want to be really careful of how we use personal knowledge
Yeah.
in kind of space. So oftentimes my questions are really just to let you think,
Yeah.
rather than asking about your dead grandmother, specifically,
Yes.
you know.
That's a good, yeah, thing. But
Yeah.
even just to bring it back to Anne instead of
Yeah.
Viola, just
Yes.
having it be the actors and then
Well,
the
you can't deny that
characters.
it's Anne in front of you,
I
disguised with
know.
a mustache, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then that becomes really interesting because it might clue you into like something that Olivia maybe notices about Cesario,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. I wonder, how was it for you, Miranda, watching us both?
It was really great. I'm not familiar with this one, so it was fascinating. Thank you for asking. I was of course at a remove, so I was cerebral, and particularly at the beginning, I would see the word, I'd see the letters, and particularly with the very initial one when you were talking about to be or not to be, I found myself not, and just with images.
Mhm.
But what was fascinating listening to both of you was how where the response, and it was very nuanced sometimes, but where the response was slightly different, in playing off of the question. And Edgar, you did a great job of just boom, 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 boom. Your tone was
Amazing.
pretty much the same throughout, so you weren't giving hints at all. It was just
Mhm.
entirely up to Shelby and Angie how to respond. It seemed to me. I was curious also, was it just about how visceral, how somatic your
Mhm.
experiences were when you were answering, and was one harder than the other, or
Mm.
mm,
Yeah, I felt a really low tingle everywhere. Felt like my nervous
mhm,
system was alive, but very calm, like floating on a lazy river, but active. And it felt like a flow state. Um, I had the opportunity to take my glasses off, which makes everything just slightly blurry because I didn't have to read anything. And I think that helped me because I could still see Anne, but I wasn't, it took me out of being so precise and allowed me to
mm.
forget I was in a Zoom, forget, so that was really
Well, also
nice,
for
but
me,
pretty.
seeing you without your glasses made you
Yeah.
more dangerous and more,
Oh.
yeah, all kinds of things.
Mm,
It's so funny. I wanted to just on that point, that simple act of removing your glasses,
Yeah.
because sometimes this can be a mask,
Yeah.
right? And because we're used to seeing you with the glasses, suddenly this becomes something different for the person receiving your words,
Mhm.
right? And for you,
Yes.
not having that shifts something tiny, maybe, or huge inside you. Um,
Yeah. Dangerous. What a cool word.
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
anyone's called me dangerous before.
There you go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you
But I could see how in person touching knees, staring into someone else, and then also having this friend, but then becomes an annoyance that then become, I mean, this relationship is fascinating.
yes, yes.
It's really, because you would have to trust the person in order to stay really present, which of course I trust you. And I just loved where the roller coaster took both of us and how we would get surprised and then still be reacting to each other. It's just, I've done many exercises one-on-one, like with two people, but to have this third entity is really
And
fascinating.
possibly a fourth, because the other
Right.
person dropping in
The
the
other
other actor.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
It can be done with one, but it's easier with two.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
actors size, if there are larger scenes, can be done with 3, 4, 5, 6 actors sitting in a circle. And you
Wow.
have
Wow.
2 or 3 dropper inners moving about stealthily, dropping
Yeah.
in each person, right? Um,
Edgar, I have a question for you. How do you feel it worked over Zoom? You were saying this was the first time you'd done this over Zoom.
um, I thought it worked well, considering, and and again, I want to allude to something that Anne said. We did a very short section. It really does take some time for, especially if this is your first time doing this. I think it often takes a little bit more text to really allow yourselves to not be intellectual about it and just drop into it, right? And then over time, um, you almost organically let go of any preconceptions, even if you know what's coming next in terms of the words. Um, the and what starts to happen is that it's about the words, but also the relationship between the two actors. And as Shelby said, sometimes it's about the relationship between the dropper inner and the actor, even though we're trying to be out of the way. It is sometimes you have a response to what we're dropping in, or to how many damn questions we're asking, or we're 10 deep into a word and you're like, okay, I want to move on, and we're like still riffing on that, right? Because part of what we're doing is also kind of listening to see where there might be something interesting, or we sense that there's a word that might be interesting, or we see something shifting between the two actors, so we might riff on that a little bit longer, and sometimes we're just moving on.
It might be a means for two actors to join forces against whoever this dropper inner is.
Yeah. And
And the drop.
I mean, everything has happened. I mean, I have been in sessions where the two actors, in a comedy scene are screaming, at each other. Um, Out of both because they've been in that chair for a bit, or because the words are really interesting and they're in that state. So now everything that's being dropped in is plugged more into whatever emotional state they're in. And so they're just responding from until something shifts, right? So I say all that because there is no right or wrong way necessarily to do this to respond to this exercise as the actor in the chair. Again, it's just a tool to allow perhaps the words to resonate on a deeper level, and perhaps on a level that you hadn't thought of intellectually as you're doing your book work as an actor, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the exercise is. It's called dropping in.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions or comments before we move on?
I think just thinking about that third entity still, and it reminds me of my actor voice that wants to ask those questions about each of these lines. It feels like text work personified, and then sometimes things slip into the personal side. Sometimes they slip into questions that are asked that I don't know the answer to, which frustrates me. It feels like that voice that is there as I'm prepping.
Mm,
But because it was someone else doing it and I didn't have to remember the line, it was fed to me, it really allowed me to be present and almost like personify and distance that voice, which I do in therapy with certain things that I'm trying to work on, just kind of give it its own place. So it just felt like a really, um, it wasn't frustrating to me, but it was a relationship that it was kind of nice to not be in control of. But a lot of the questions that were being asked, I think outside me was kind of clocking, oh, what a good question. Or, oh, I would love to pop that P. I want to remember that. It felt like work, good work, and guided work.
I just want to point out two interesting moments that happened, and I
Mhm.
think we're dropping in the word name,
Mhm.
and there was a shift in what happened for you. Uh, I think based on one of the prompts I gave, which I found really interesting. You know, and again, it doesn't mean that you have to act the words or the piece of text in any particular way, but now there might be that extra layer of resonance for you in
Get
that,
my name right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and then Shelby, for you, I think there was something about eyes or eye,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it's a little bit different here, but even across this medium, I just noticed a slight kind of looking a little bit closer at the camera to see Anne's eyes a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
because we often look, but we don't really see.
Mm.
And so there was just a different kind of connection that happened even across this medium that was really lovely between the two of you in that,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
this work, sometimes does that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much for introducing us to this.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
You want to add in, Miranda, before we move on?
Just thank you. Yeah, no, that was very cool. It was cool to learn about. It was cool to witness. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'll just close off by saying, it does take some practice to get the hang of it, especially as the dropper inner. There is a kind of a rhythm you want to establish, so the questions are coming in slow, because then the actor stuff gets in their head about it. So there is a practice to it, that takes a little bit of time to to get the hang of.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for playing. That was
Mm-hmm.
pretty nice. I would love to kind of switch gears a little bit. Um, I sent you the folio version of these scenes, and I'd love to take a look at them.
Before we start on this, can I just say something about something I noticed about
Yes.
this scene in the last week?
Yeah.
And that is the whole business. There's an undercurrent that maybe everybody else has seen this all along, but there is the Olivia assuming that I'm from Orsino, but I haven't said so. And I refuse to admit that I'm from Orsino, because the minute I admit it, she's going to throw me out. So there's this underlying little push-pull, and then I finally say Orsino. And I think I don't know. I think that the clarity of that has not hit me before.
Mm.
So and I'm sort of surprised now that I see it, that Shakespeare doesn't make more of the fact that I finally drop in and say from Orsino.
Right.
And it's like, I guess he doesn't want to bother with that joke anymore. He's busy going on to something else. But it's just the clarity of that came through to me. And I don't know whether that'll make any difference in what I do, but I wanted to say that I think it's good for us to be aware of that little sort of inner contest going on. Admit you're from, I'd say no. No, I'm not. I'm well, no. So anyway,
Well, I mean,
that's it.
no, it's part of the sauciness, isn't it?
Yeah,
That they talk about,
yeah.
and why Olivia admits you into her house. She wants to see the sauciness, the saucy boy. Um, do you want to, before we jump in, Miranda, do you want to say a few words about what the folio is?
Sure. Thank you for those listening at home. So the first folio of Shakespeare's plays was published in 1623. It was really a labor of love by two actors in the company, in Shakespeare's company, John Hemmings and Henry Condell, but there was a whole Shakespeare syndicate of other individuals who were contributed to it, and there are some plays are not in it that we now do think probably Shakespeare did right, but there are, I think, 18 plays that appeared for the first time in the First Folio. So no quartos either were printed or have survived. So without the First Folio and this massive joint effort on the part of many individuals, many plays would be lost. Stop me if I said this in here already. I'm doing so many so many conversations and webinars that I sort of forget where I am. But Emma Smith, who is a scholar, a Shakespeare scholar and professor at Oxford, believes that but for the First Folio, these plays would have shared the fate of what she thinks may be hundreds of plays that have not, early modern plays that have disappeared. Have I mentioned the database of lost plays? This is a rabbit. Okay, this is a rabbit hole of a website, but the database of lost plays, which is has been that too is a labor of love by a couple of individuals, just compiling references to plays from the early modern period, Elizabethan Jacobean plays that are no longer that we don't know what they are. I personally deeply regret that we don't seem to have a copy anymore, none passed down through the ages, of an early play by Ben Jonson called The Isle of Dogs. Doesn't that just fire the imagination? But it's lost. It's lost. So we're grateful for the first folio. I think there were about 750 printed. Right now we know we're 263-ish of them are. The Folger Shakespeare Library has something like 82, 83 of them. The next largest collection is in Japan, I believe, and it is 5. The British Library has 2 or 3. The British Library has digitalized it, as has I think the Folger has too. So you can go online and see it, but no two First Folios were alike because they proofread as the pages were coming off the printing press, and if they saw an error, they would fix the type and just keep going. So Annoyeds Within did Lauren Gunderson's play The Book of Will a couple of years ago in 2023, as did many other theaters, and it's a marvelous depiction of how it all came together.
Great, thank you. I want to look.
Do we have any idea what age Shakespeare was when he wrote this particular play?
When he wrote Twelfth Night?
Uh-huh.
Let's see. He was born in 1564. This play was written 1600-ish, 1599. So let's see. Someone else do the math. But what would he have been? So 64, so 35, 36, 37-ish. Yeah. Yeah, he was really hitting his stride with this one, I think.
I really like again these are all tools for us as actors. I really like the folio as a tool in the box, as a source for these reasons. It's as close, I imagine, to what may have been said and what these two guys and their syndicate of fellow actors thought was important. The plays we have are just one version of what may have been performed or what we have left, So it is just the version we are lucky to have. What I really find interesting about the folio, is why I want to look into it, look at the folio in this scene, is capital letters, words that are capitalized, different spellings, which again then plays into the idea of original pronunciation and what we imagine Elizabethans may have sounded like based on how they wrote things out. And they tended to write more closely to what words sounded than how they're spelled, right? And then the folio also sometimes has slightly different naming. So, for example, I believe Lady Capulet goes from lady to wife at some point in the folio. Whether that's just the guy forgot that he called her lady earlier and now he's calling her wife, or vice versa, maybe. It could also be that maybe they thought in this scene she's playing the wife role, and in this scene, she's playing the lady of the house role, and so there might be something useful for the actor to take from that, right? So there are all these little clues I think that are interesting. In I think in the second scene, oh no, in this scene, Viola is called Violenta in the folio, which I found really interesting, right? Violenta, and correct me if I'm wrong, Miranda, in Spanish means violent. I imagine in Italian it means violent.
Yes, similar word. Yeah.
And it might be an indication of how you were acting at the gate. Perhaps.
Not merely saucy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So again, just a little clue as an actor might be, oh, that's interesting. So I'd like to just read, and we won't go far. From We'll Once Hear More Orsino's Embassy, where we've been starting. And let me pull mine up. And what I'd love is, we'll take it slow. If you want to just give the words that have a capitalization, perhaps they have a slight lift on them, right? Perhaps they have a little bit more meaning for you. So give them a little bit of a lift, perhaps. If there's a word that's spelled a little bit differently, maybe we try the pronunciation that we imagine based on the spelling. Some of them are really simple to see, like I believe me is sometimes spelled M-E-E, and I believe there is an occasion in where it's spelled M-E-E-E, which gives it a different meaning and emphasis, right?
Yeah.
Fun.
So let's just give it a roll, and it might be interesting. We'll take it from We'll Once More Hear Orsino's Embassy. When you're ready.
I see. Okay. Give me my veil. Come, throw it o'er my face. We'll once more hear Orsino's embassy.
The honorable lady of the house, which is she?
Speak to me. I shall answer for her. Your will?
Yeah. Most radiant, exquisite, and unmatchable beauty. I pray you, tell me if this be the lady of the house, for I never saw her. I would be loath to cast away my speech, for besides that it is excellently well penned, I have taken great pains to con it. Good beauties, let me sustain no scorn. I'm very comfortable even to the least sinister usage.
Whence came you, sir?
Okay, let's hold there for a sec. Let's just play with a little bit of that text. I wish we could put this up. I'm not sure how to share the screen and not lose everyone else. Can I share my?
Do it for a little bit, and then we can take it down when we read it again.
I'll share my screen because I want us to see the actual text.
They've seen our faces a lot.
All right,
We're
there we
still
are.
there.
Yes,
We're
but you
just
can
not
see my
nice.
screen, right?
Yes.
Great. So I just want to point out a few things, and again, if you can really just lean into this different spellings, even if they sound a little weird. So the first one, Olivia, we have thread or my face, right? Not or. We're trying to make it into almost like a two-syllable word. The wheel has a W-E-E. So lean into that, perhaps.
Yes, I was trying to even more.
Even more, yeah.
Okay.
Because we really want to hear with just as an exercise, really hear those different spellings or capital letters in the
Yeah.
word.
Great.
Viola, you have lady with a capital L. And it's not lady with a Y, it's lady, maybe, with an IE. That might be interesting to play with. The BEE, if this, here, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. If this be the lady of the house, if this be the lady of the house, right? I would be loath to cast away my speech. Pains with an extra little sound, maybe, because it has that little E in between the N and the S. The capitalizations on the good and the beauties. The double M, let me sustain. Right. So really see if you can really lean into those words, yeah? And I'm gonna leave this up and leave you guys in small so that our audience can perhaps follow along. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Give me my veil. Come, throw it o'er my face. We'll once more hear Orsino's embassy.
The honorable lady of the house, which is she?
Speak to me. I shall answer for her. Your will?
Most radiant, exquisite, and unmatchable beauty. I pray you tell me if this be the lady of the house, for I never saw her. I would be loath to cast away my speech, for besides that it is excellently well penned, I have taken great pains to con it. Good beauties, let me sustain no scorn. I'm very comfortable even to the least sinister usage.
Whence came you, sir?
I can say little more than I have studied, and that question's out of my part. Good gentle one, give me honest assurance if you be the lady of the house, that I may proceed in my speech.
Are you a comedian?
No, my profound heart, and yet, by the very fangs of malice, I swear, I am not that I play. Are you the lady of the house?
If I do not usurp myself, I am.
Most certain, if you are she, you do usurp yourself, for what is yours to bestow is not yours to reserve. But this is from my commission. I will on with my speech in your praise and then show you the heart of my message.
Great, let's hold there. And I think I will shew you the heart.
Yeah, I saw that a little too late.
Right. And again, I want to say that I want to say that this is, again, it's a tool. Perhaps it's spelled SHEW because they ran out of O's, right? It might be that simple sometimes, you know. So again, a tool, and we make what we will of it. Did you find any of that interesting or like?
I sure did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I loved listening to it, and I thought you both did a great job of just leaning into the sort of unusual spellings or
Yeah.
it really opened up a lot of possibilities. And I love this exercise, Edgar, of using the folio because it's a strange text in some ways and really completely goes against our contemporary views of what a text should be, and the and the definitive, the definitive version really doesn't exactly exist, not in the of Shakespeare, not in the way we're used to thinking. By the way, fun fact, in the Tempest, so that line of Ferdinand's towards the end, so rare a wondered father and a wise makes this place paradise. The crossbar, as you all know, the S would look like an F without a crossbar, and it's so we're a wondered father and a wife, and you can see over the course of certain first folios the crossbar getting fainter and fainter until it breaks off, and so you have texts that have a completely different folio text that have a completely different word in that
Yeah.
spot. Yeah, fun stuff.
I think, Anne, you had a different word. Did you say good gentle one gives me honest assurance? Or or did you say modest?
I thought I heard honest,
Yeah.
but that worked too.
I was wondering if that's in your head, Anne, because the
Oh, no, I don't think I said honest. Did I? I'm
yes,
modest.
yeah.
I think you did. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be damned. Okay.
I just look at our
And besides it, I could have said, if I were looking carefully, modest
yes.
Mhm.
assurance.
Yes. What I found really interesting is when you guys really played the double E's on the B's and me's, it just gave a different kind of a different pressure that was happening from Viola in terms of her urgency that I thought was really. I don't know if you felt that, Anne.
Yes, I did. I felt that there was something pushier about it, which was nice.
Yeah. Yes, and in fact, will you take a look here? I'm gonna share my screen again. I just want to give a little bit of an example on one of these lines. Will you just take a look at this line I've highlighted? Good gentle one, give me assurance, right? If you just say it with what we'll call regular spelling, the edited spelling, so just one E, right, and no capital L and a Y.
I don't know what you just said, but I'll try it. But so what do you want to do?
So this section here, these lines I've highlighted.
I can't tell where your highlights are.
It's okay. Just take your script, the full script that you have, and just read the line, good gentle one, give me modest.
Yes.
Just read that as written in the edited version, your folder script.
Good gentle one, give me honest assurance, if you be the lady of the house, that I may proceed in my speech.
Great. Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna stop. So if we say it in the edited version is good gentle one, give me modest assurance if you be the lady of the house, right?
Right.
That's the line. The folio has an extra E on me. And if we lean into the E, what I'm asking you to, what you just did, Anne, again, like you said, it gives it an extra urgency or almost like a desperation. Good gentle one, give me modest assurance. That might be interesting because you're there on a mission from Orsino. I don't know. I'm just that little E maybe does something interesting.
Yeah, but then it seems to, I mean, who else would be, when you emphasize me, it implies that there's somebody else involved as opposed, give it to me as opposed to. So I don't know how you make that work.
I don't either, but what it does is as the actor over the rehearsal process, it's not about necessarily emphasizing the MEE, but about the urgency
Oh,
that
gotcha. Okay.
discovered because of that. Does that make sense?
Give me modest assurance if you be the lady of the house.
Yeah. Right. There might be something interesting in that. And I think it just feeds into this idea we've talked about earlier about the urgency that you have and that you're on a mission, right?
Gotcha.
So
I think what, okay,
go ahead, Shelby.
I think what was clearer to me is the annoyance of her having to be there and how much she just dealt with at the door, even to get in, basically pushed in, even though technically she's invited by the end, but just the way that Anne did it, just by leaning into those words, for me, it didn't make it that those were emphasized necessarily. It was just they were being honored, and it was just Anne saying it through her teeth so that I can get through it and go. So it wasn't suddenly about get through it, it didn't make it important. It allowed Viola's frustration, exasperation, right? But it also slowed us down, certainly slowed me down. And then that was the other thing that really jumped out at me was us looking for those capital letters and the longer words. So then when we had a sentence where it didn't have any of those, we sped through it pretty quickly. I think after comedian, are you a comedian? And then Anne was like, no, I found hard like, and so it just made sense because we looked really fast, and Anne was like, I don't have a capital here, so I'm just gonna. No,
Right,
I'm not that.
right. That was useful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of this natural, not a wave. What am I thinking of? Yeah, it was just a natural rhythm finder. Yeah.
I want to look at one other little section, just a little further down on the page
Mm-hmm.
with Olivia's line, Viola's line. Alas, I took great pains to study it, and 'tis poetical. And then through Olivia's next little speech. And I want you to be interested in, again, I'm going to share my screen so the audience can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be interested in the pains, study, and poetical with a capital P and a double L. And then Olivia, I'd like you to just look a little bit more closely at brief with a double E. And moon with a little extra E at the end and the capital M.
Mm-hmm. I love that line.
Right. So when you're ready, we'll pick it up from alas, I took great pains.
Alas, I took great pains to study it, and 'tis poetical.
It is the more like to be feigned. I pray you keep it in. I heard you were saucy at my gates, and allowed your approach rather to wonder at you than to hear you. If you be not mad, be gone. If you have reason, be brief. 'Tis not that time of the moon with me to make one in so skipping a dialogue.
Yeah.
A long brief. That's so fun.
A long brief, right. And
Brief.
not so much about punching it, just giving a little bit of a lift, right?
Yeah.
Which then kind of parallels the length of brief. If you have reason, be brief. It's not that time of moon with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And what do capital letters, we think of them as proper nouns, like it's the name of something. Is that accurate as far as the folio? Or was it more, this is an emphasized word?
I have my own opinion, but Miranda, do you want to?
Your opinion probably is going to be more helpful, because I think the short answer is I don't think we know. We don't know for certain. Now, editors and textual scholars, among whom I am not, might have a technical answer to that, but it's so erratic, from play to play, and as we were saying earlier, even the same play is printed differently in different copies of the folio. So I don't think we know. So I think Edgar's opinion is probably going to be, as I'm going to take it from my authority, Edgar. So go ahead.
I don't, it's all conjecture, but what I remind myself is that the folio was put together by two actors and their associates who were other actors in the company, right? And so when they set this down, what I'm imagining, they set it down in a way as actors, they remember how the text was spoken. So they put a little, perhaps they capitalized something because organically they put an emphasis or had a little bit more import to the word, so they threw a capital letter on it, right? That's what I think. Again, it could be as simple as they didn't have any more small m's, you know. And
But I actually love that because I think so often we speak disparagingly and often rightly so of actors' memorial reconstructions, as being wildly inaccurate, and sometimes they are. The bad quarto, early quarto version of To Be or Not to Be. That is the point, and you just but actually these were really dedicated actors who'd been with Shakespeare for a long, long time, I think that's a great theory, and actually there is validity to actors' memories, physical memories of how to speak the speech, right? So I like that a lot.
And
yeah,
is it true that the folio was done 7 years after Shakespeare died?
It was printed. So he died in 1616, and it came out in 1623.
Yeah, I think that when I heard that the first time, just that he wasn't even around, you know,
Yeah,
and it's just
and it
his
was
friends who
who
have embodied
cared.
this. Yeah.
Exactly, who have embodied it. And it was really the first so Ben Jonson had his own first folio while he was living, to preserve his own works. Thank you very much. But this was the first time that I'm aware of that posthumously
Yeah.
someone a playwright's works were collected.
Yeah.
again, I want to emphasize that the folio is just another tool, right? It's
Yeah.
certainly love referencing it as a tool, and looking at it from an actor and director's point of view, and not necessarily from an academic point of view, because there are tomes about, which person, put that particular line together and how many, um, um, I want to just as another example of how the folio might be useful as a tool and inform us as an actor. The opening speech of As You Like It, that Orlando has, talking about why he's in the state he's in and how his brother treats him. I believe edited versions have, 7, 8, 9 periods in that long honking speech. The folio version only has, I believe, 2, 3 periods, and a lot of semicolons and commas and colons that function differently than if we put full stops at the end of every period. The speech becomes more urgent when you only allow for 3 complete stops, if you will, in that speech. And it really then informs where emotionally Orlando is at the top of that play in a really interesting way than one would otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Again, you as the actor might choose to still do 4 periods, right? But again, examining the folio is a tool that might be useful.
That's a great point. Yeah. Punctuation is an opinion.
Yeah. And we won't have time to really go into, again, what John Barton, talks about so well is the commas, the difference between a period, a comma, a semicolon, and a colon, and how each one is slightly different. One is a full stop, one is a shift, one is more like a transition, and those become really interesting. And you can kind of spend, hours and hours on it. For me, it's really about what's useful. And I'm going to try it, in my body first, and then come to the book and look at what does the folio say. That's it. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll try that and then let it go. Because if I'm kind of like this to the folio, I'm just going to get in my head about it.
That was a question I was going to ask you, Edgar, within a rehearsal process. When would you recommend the folio be consulted?
I have the folio in rehearsal every day. And sometimes I hear something in the rehearsal, and I go, let's look at the Foley. I'm interested in how it has it there,
Yeah.
how it's spelled, or what the punctuation is. I'm just curious. And sometimes it it leads to not, and sometimes there's like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So after the first draft, though, like
Yeah,
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 that's how I would do it.
yeah, it's there as a resource. I wouldn't start with it because then we get in our head about it. I'm really interested in more starting from what we did earlier today, which is how the words live organically in our bodies and how they can resonate on a deeper and personal level in our bodies. What I didn't say earlier is that there is no Juliet, there is no Viola, there is no Olivia. Those don't exist. There only is Shelby and Anne playing these characters in this moment from your own filter through your own lived experiences. That's it, right? Whether you actively engage those lived experiences or they're just in your body and and they're there. So you can't help but let them, they're there. So that's what's interesting to me and why we keep doing these plays. I would love to end here with our rehearsal process. I think this is, we covered a lot. I know we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A. But before we move over to that, any final words you guys have that you want to say about this or the dropping in that we did?
I think for me, this feels like, even though it's been online, this feels like the work at the table that you would do together in rehearsal. And what we've done so far makes me feel like I want to leap to my feet. Like I'm filled with ideas. I even just sitting on the edge of a seat to do that exercise, you know, um, I love getting it up on its feet as soon as possible, like you mentioned earlier, Edgar. But if we have to sit in this, all of these exercises and these discussions have made it so much so that I'm glad we're not even reading them through again, because I need to get on my feet. It just feels like it's brimming. That's really exciting.
Yeah, this is a full contact body sport, Shakespeare, and you have to embody it physically. It can't just be, at the table. So I'm on my feet pretty quickly.
But I'm surprised at how much work we've gotten done.
Yeah.
That is still physical.
Yeah.
And that it's so full now that it's ready to go, ready to pop.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Nathan.
Yeah, really intriguing session and exercises that we got to be audience to, and you guys already had a lot of great discussion and questions about them. So I may try to zoom out and ask some questions about just the whole experience. But yeah, I think the questions were or the exercises specifically about the words and the dropping in and then the folio. I mean, like you said, Edgar, they're great tools, things that hopefully can kind of inspire people or excite them to just kind of create the get the imagination going of what else can we do here, what can unlock different things about this is what I love about taking the time with the scene that Angie, you said you've worked on the scene for 3 or 4 times from the other side, but you're still finding new elements in here of just of the banter up at the top of the scene. And I think that's what's really fun about when you do have time, and I know it's just a function of most theaters and most productions that you do have to get to your feet so quickly because we've only got 10 days until we start tech, so we let's move, and yet this kind of work as I mentioned at the top a lot of times can inform the blocking and make things a little bit streamlined. But yeah, I would, you know, zooming out a little bit and thinking about the few weeks of work that we have had on these scenes. I would love to hear from Shelby or Anne. Um, were there any other things that you wanted to kind of bring up about about the characters that you were playing, things that you um, were particularly challenged by or surprised by. I know you knew about these characters in some form, but actually, digging into the words and the language and the scene, did anything come up for you of like, boy, this was really, an interesting or a curious, thing that I didn't expect, or this challenged me more. Yeah, just I'll leave it. I'll leave it there. Shelby, do you want to start?
Sure. I think that everyone remembers Olivia for, oh, that's the girl who falls for the hot guy. And that never resonated with me. And so through our work together, I feel like I found a way in with her that isn't, that her grief is so light. Um, I think by really exploring, I know Edgar loved leaning into the servant line. And I think that's really valid. That's one of the things that I remember as you were asking us about the 3-week process is when things repeat, why that's important. And how she has servants around her all the time. So why does she lean into that word more? Um, I wonder if there's also a deep kinship between the two because they are both grieving still, and they're both grieving brothers. And if that's actually where they click in, especially when Anne was saying the words in this last dropping in exercise, there was so much nuance of delight, but also it could turn 180 to something you could see as grief, even if she was just saying the word princess or something.
Mm.
And I think there's just so much. I always knew that it couldn't be just that Olivia gets hot for someone. And I think through this process, we've been able to not give her a depth, but mine it. I knew it was there, but I
Mhm.
didn't personally know what it was.
Yeah, it's certainly come up in other series that we've done that just over time, I think we as an audience or artists tend to impose our view of what certain characters are. And then if we take the time to really go back to the text of like, well, what do they actually say, and what's actually going on in the scene, it can reveal some other personality qualities that we have overlooked just because we've thought, well, Olivia is like this, or Polonius is like this, or whatever it is. That it's like, well, let's go and actually see, well, how do they interact rather than imposing who we think these characters are. I think that's a great point. Um,
Yeah.
Angie, I know how much you love talking about the acting process, but was there any was there anything that you wanted to share?
Uh,
Do you
And you
not?
can say
You
no.
don't
You can
like
say no.
talking
It's
about it?
okay.
oh, I don't. I don't.
Why don't you like talking about it? I'd love to hear.
Uh, be, I, because I often think that talking about it kills the very juice of have it. If you've talked about it, then you don't have to really listen to one another anymore.
Mhm.
If you have told me what you're thinking at any given time, then I don't have to try and figure out what the hell you're just. And I find that dangerous and annoying and all those things.
Yeah.
But one of the things I found out in this, which I thought was really fun, is that Viola comes to respect Olivia when Olivia does that thing about he's a good guy. I understand that he's a good guy and all of that, but I just can't love him because she really like squares there. And I think Viola suddenly says, oh, this is actually a woman of substance. She is not this pain in the ass that I've come to think she is. Anyway.
And
Yeah.
because of that moment of connection, then I think that allows her to be the super hot later, you know, because I feel like that moment, especially that Edgar let us go even further in, is so on point.
Yeah.
And it just feels earned now because we've gotten to that place of mutual respect.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
great
Well,
point.
and in addition, I think it's I think it was really fun to hear how you know, at whatever stage you're at in terms of, you know, however long you're acting, that doing exercises like the dropping in or looking at the folio, which, as you guys mentioned, there isn't always time to do. Even Edgar, you're saying, you know, you're trying to reference it as much you can. Um, but it can open up things to actors, even if they've been doing it, you know, 30, 40, 50 years of like, oh, if only we had the time to really use this as a tool and bring this into the rehearsal, you know, you can see whether it's the capital letters or the spelling or the punctuation, just different things that can just give you more ideas of what might be going on in the scene and what's going to spark something in me that, you know, excites me to play in this scene. Um,
I want to drop
yeah,
something
please.
in referencing something that Anne said. You know, I'm going to be the art of directing. Uh, you know, the part of that process is also knowing how to speak to different actors because I don't. You know, this is a different process, right? But I don't speak to actors the same way across the board. And, you know, some actors I won't even reference the folio because I know they're gonna get in their head about it. Or some actors really love to talk scenes out, you know, and so, and if the other actor is game, then we'll do that. Another actor like Anne doesn't want to. We want to let's do it. And so I kind of tend to discover that, and so I understand that that's a more useful approach to a particular scene with that actor. So these tools are not like I put them into play in this order and in this manner and in this timeline. It I find what's going to be useful for this actor in this moment in this scene,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Edgar, continuing with you, I'd love to hear what was it that about these two scenes or these characters that you wanted to explore in the series here. I mean, I know you've recently directed the play. You know, I'm sure you've worked on it in, you know, other classes or whatever. But so, what was it that you wanted to why you wanted to return to these characters?
I mean, I think there's always something to discover. I think every actor brings something new, you know. Um, Part of the casting for this is not necessarily going with the obvious casting. So I find that
Sure.
interesting, you know. I really find that interesting to have Anne play Viola Cesario.
Yeah.
Um, because Anne has, you know, and obviously a wealth of experience of life experience that she's drawing on to say these words that resonate differently than a 20-year-old, right?
Right.
Um, and that's not experience in acting, that's a life experience
Right.
that I think is beautiful. So so new things come up and my brain starts to like, oh, that's interesting. I never heard that before.
Sure. Sure.
So that's part of it. Uh, and I just wanted to tackle, I think this play is almost a perfect play, like I said before. So
Mm,
I really dig it.
Can you
that's
talk
great.
about
That's great.
why? What's perfect about it?
Yeah.
The wit in particular, I think is really sharp and really clever and it comes from multiple characters, not just the clowns or the you know the fools. Everybody has wit, uh, or most everybody has wit in this play, and Shakespeare really his dialogue is really well structured for that wit. Um, and the subplots in the story are not kind of asides. They're actually integral to the overall story, I think. I think Miranda said that a few weeks ago. That's why.
That's great. That's great. And I did want to. I had some other questions, but I wanted to before I forget. Angie, I remember you saying that you always felt you were more the Viola. That character resonates more with you personally. But you played Olivia. Did you still do you still feel that way, or did you find more like support for that idea as you were playing Viola? Of like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
more who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Do, were there specific traits or qualities that stand out to you about her?
Um, uh, yeah, I guess there's a directness about her that
Sure.
that I feel is more in my wheelhouse
Mm,
than uh, O- Olivia's much trickier and uh, and concerned with status more. I don't know. Yes, I just felt.
sure.
And part of the fact that she can be that is that she has been released into that by being in a boy's position.
Sure. Sure. And it brings up, an interesting point, that for, multiple reasons across the years, you were seen as an Olivia for what, like it's just kind of a interesting casting thing that
Yeah,
however we, see ourselves or whatever
go
we
figure.
project. Yeah,
Right.
just sometimes people will see you as, as a different character. That's great. Miranda, I'd love to hear, because we looked at the play from so many different angles, and again today the folio and dropping in, and just all the discussions over the weeks. Was there anything that either in your research between the weeks or during the sessions that jumped out at you as something you discovered about the play or you learned about the characters?
I think I just learned so much from being in this Zoom room with the three of you. Edgar, you did some exercises, especially today, but throughout your approach was new to me, and Angie and Shelby, the same. Just I'm grateful to all three of you just for how engaged you were with this and for allowing me to be in the room. So thank you to Nathan for that. And I agree with Edgar 100% that we don't want to get too cerebral around these texts. And as you remember, I said at the very beginning, they were written as scripts, and I'm always mindful of that. That said, I do think I sometimes I wish there were more collaboration between the academy and the theater, as when
Mm,
it comes to Shakespeare, because it seems to me they don't have to be at odds, and I think it's improving, but it's a much more fruitful if everybody's sort of bringing what they bring to the table and sharing and learning from each other. So that's my little soapbox speech for today. But no, this was a lot of fun. Thank you. And Edgar, I agree. It's a perfect play, and it's a perfect comedy, I think. And the other so-called mature comedies are sometimes problematic in ways that this one isn't. I may have said this already, but I love As You Like It, but oh my gosh, what I think of as the hey nani nani factor is way too high. And As You Like It, right? There's just too much sitting around the greenwood singing hey nani nani. But this one, right? But this there's a great New Yorker cartoon I'll send all of you, of a guy in a bed, in bed, the lute is propped against the wall, and his wife is there saying, "If I never hear another goddamn hey nani nani out of you, it'll be too soon for me," which is how I feel about As You Like It. But no, it's a perfect play. I'm inclined to agree with you. So thank you, everyone. This was really a joy for me to be part of.
well, that's great. We're just waiting for the sequel of Malvolio's Revenge of what does he do to everybody?
He
Right.
comes in playing his
Dang.
lute and singing "Hey Nani Nani" round the clock. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
Yep. Well, great. Are there any final comments people want to share about their work on this scene or anything they learned? No pressure.
Thank
All
you.
right, cool. Well, I
Yeah,
know it's been
thank you.
it's been
Been
really
fun.
wonderful work. I really enjoyed diving into these characters and diving into these two scenes. For those watching, come on back. We have weeks and weeks and months of material. There's all different plays and playwrights. So if you enjoyed what you see here, definitely go back and watch the first couple of weeks of this series, and then springboard off and to other Shakespeare or Chekhov or Stoppard. Or we have lots of stuff for you to dive into and really explore. Whether you're an audience member and you just want to deepen your appreciation of these plays and your experience at the theater the next time you see the play, or as an actor, just to get lots of different ideas. Every director brings different ways of working. There are different, entry points into the text and different exercises. So there is no one size fits all. There's no one approach. And you can see how a lot of different actors approach the material. So that is that. Again, as I mentioned below, there are links if you'd like to, if you can, support the project either one time or in an ongoing way. Definitely click subscribe and click those notification bells so you know when we're putting out more stuff. And please share this with others that you think would enjoy. So for now, we'll kind of put a wrap on our 12th night series here in the rehearsal room, these two Olivia Viola scenes. Thank you all so much for your time and talent and efforts and gifts. And we'll see everybody next time in the rehearsal room. All right, take care.
Yay.
Thanks,
Anon.
everybody.